Goblin Slayer, a warrior of true grit, forged in the depths of battle, capable of slaying any goblin.
NANI?!
Basically, if I were to sum up this series, it would be, what if Saitama was Tatsumaki size and his job was to kill heroes in a fantasy world? But as awesome as that may sound, it actually downplays what I think this manga's strongest point is. So let's start from the beginning. Goblin wa mo jubun ni suyoi, or Goblin is very strong, is exactly what you think. A story about a very strong goblin, so strong in fact that she has hit the level cap of 99 and can now fight on par with the Demon King himself. And her job is to gatekeep adventurers in the level 1 starting area. This is our main character, a goblin by the name of Wasabi. I should point out that while this is a shonen manga, it's mainly a comedy, a rather dark comedy, but a comedy nonetheless. Being a level 99 goblin, she is extremely overpowered, but unlike other OP characters like Saitama, at the end of the day, she is still a born and bred goblin. Not that that matters though, when enemies' weapons break on impact. And then she kills them Dokuro-chan style. It's not that violent though, because this world runs on RPG logic, and dead adventurers simply turn to Dragon Quest style caskets that respawn at church. So yeah, this is technically a villain protagonist, but it never really comes across like that, due to Wasabi's personality. Sure, her job is to get rid of adventurers by any means necessary, but the way she does that is pretty by the book. She, mostly, patrols her very clearly defined territory, a goblin forest, and doesn't really bother anyone that's not an adventurer. She even has casual conversations with her opponents before dispatching them with her trusty dagger. What really makes her interesting though, is how, despite her power, she and all the other monsters still come off kinda as underdogs, because at the end of the day, humans respawn, monsters don't. Wasabi even has a little joke about how no one knows the exact lifespan of a goblin because they die too quickly.
That's rough, buddy.
This manga story is mostly done as a bunch of non-connected short adventures, but has an overarching story of Wasabi meeting Aki, a kind adventurer from another world, who probably got here in the traditional manner, and upon meeting Wasabi, gets hard stuck at level 1. Side note, Wasabi does point out that fighting her isn't even worth it in the long run. She literally provides 1 gold and 2 XP, because I guess that stuff is race based and not level based. After several encounters, Aki becomes determined to start a friendship with her casual executioner, dragging her best friend and only party member, Granite, along for the ride, and despite Wasabi's confusion, eventually succeeds, with the goblin agreeing to fight them on even days and hang out with them on the odd ones. There is a bit of mystery behind Aki though, as Wasabi does note that even at level 1, unlike other adventurers, she was able to at least attempt at blocking her attacks. So despite her timid nature, she might be a force to be reckoned with.
Okay, that's all well and good, but comedy manga? Lolly protagonist? Come on, give me something on brand here, please.
She has a succubus best friend.
That'll work.
This devilish creature goes by the name of Mimit, and isn't exactly what she seems. By that I mean she's actually a cowardly recluse that hides in libraries despite being a bona fide demon, and yandere is the main character super hard. Obviously she's my favorite. And since we're on the topic, there is some fan service in this manga, but while I do appreciate how it's mostly done in service of specific comedy bits, the art style itself isn't necessarily all that appealing to me. I don't know. I think the characters come across as too noodly sometimes. The thing that draws me in the most though, are the more subtle details and how, despite being primarily a comedy, it still digs a little deeper into the subtext of the world. I think the chapter that really sold me on this manga wasn't one of the joke chapters or even one of the bigger dramatic chapters that come later in the story when it really gets the balls to tackle more serious underlying themes. No, instead, the chapter that really got my attention was a one-off side story about Aki. Why the fuck do I have Aki written here? About Wasabi facing off against some bratty adventurer who refuses to give up, constantly dying to her. This chapter really expands on how the respawn system works, as while at first her corpse is teleported to the church alongside her party, once they give up and she goes out to get her revenge alone, the next time she dies, her casket simply sits on the forest ground. But Wasabi, not wanting to litter, pulls a Saitama and guesstimates the trajectory required and tosses it to the nearest church. Rinse and repeat this a few more times with a few comedic gags and granite dying tossed in for good measure, until now the adventure is left penniless from all the respawn cost, and once Wasabi hears about her debt, the fun gets thrown right out the window and she digs a hole in the ground, telling the adventurer that it's her grave. This is where Wasabi really hammers in the whole "I'm a monster" thing, as she explains just how the respawn system works, how without a hero in the party her casket won't get teleported, she was doing her a favor until now, how without any money the church won't revive her, and how it only takes a few days of not getting rezzed before the blessing that allows any of this to happen in the first place fades away.
Oh no!
Once the realization sets in, the adventurer panics and lands her first strike on Wasabi with her trusty axe, her last investment. Wasabi then forces her to beg and renounce being an adventurer ever again if she wants to live, before stabbing her anyway, because why would you trust a monster in this situation? The chapter ends on a nice note though, with her being rezzed anyway after Wasabi outright threatens to throw even more caskets at the church, and our former adventurer taking up a job at the late night convenience store. These more serious chapters delving into the world and Wasabi's views on it are really what take the manga out of just being this kinda haha funny story in my mind and make it something interesting, similar to how One Punch Man draws you in with crazy overpowered antics but keeps you interested with Saitama's very relaxed personality. And the story still does this without downplaying the evils of the Demon Lord's faction. This fucker made a memory foam pillow out of one of his opponents. Not skinned him and made a pillow out of it. That pillow's still alive. It screams when you squeeze it. Despite that, it's not an evil manga or anything. It's just a story of a little goblin living her goblin life. It just so happens that she's level 99 while doing it. I don't know if I can pitch this manga any better than that, but I really do recommend at least checking out the first couple of chapters. I think it's one of the better overpowered protagonist mangas I've read, and if you like comedic fantasy mangas, you'll probably like this one. Either way, let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and I'll see you guys next time. Matane!